Welcome back to another episode of the Friday Five. As you can tell, I left the microphone off to the side. My wife said it looks much better. You can see my handsome face. Her words, not mine. Cool. Always improving. Jump right into mortgage rates. So again, national averages from Mortgage News Daily. Conventional 30-year fixed down to 6.74%. FHA 30-year fixed down to 6.12%. VA 30-year fixed 6.15%. So we have seen some nice improvement in rates over the past couple weeks. Some of that comes from better inflation reports that have come out. Some of that comes from some weaker retail sales numbers and just overall economic reports that point towards maybe a little bit softer economy. So it means that if you're doing a VA or an FHA loan and you're willing to pay a point, you probably are looking at a rate in the high fives, which is pretty cool. So hopefully it continues. Number two, what is a mortgage commitment letter? So a mortgage commitment letter is a formal document from a lender that confirms their intention to provide a loan to a borrower under specific terms and conditions. The letter is typically issued after the lender has reviewed the borrower's application, financial status, and property details, and it's a really important step in the process. The Pennsylvania Agreement of Sale actually has a specific date listed in the contract that says that the lender has to provide the commitment letter by that date. So very important part of the process. The commitment letter usually includes a handful of different details. One is the loan amount, the interest rate, the loan type, whether it's a fixed rate or adjustable, the loan term, which duration of the loan, whether it's a 30-year, 20-year, 15-year, and then any conditions that the borrower has to provide for their final approval. And then lastly, there usually is an expiration date. Certain documents, pay stubs, will expire within a certain number of days from when they were issued. So there is an expiration, and the credit report expires too after 120 days. So there is an expiration date to the commitment letter. Once you receive the commitment letter, one more step closer to buying your house, but you do have to go through the final approval and provide any of those conditions. Number three, recent article that I read from Mike Delpreet was related to a study of 82,000 homebuyers. The study was done by Stratmore, and they asked a number of questions to these recent homebuyers, but one of them stuck out to me that was really interesting. They asked them how they got connected to their mortgage lender that they ended up using. And in this world of online leads, social media, digital advertising, I think these results are a little surprising. So about 30% of the home buyers said that they were referred to their lender by their real estate agent. Not really surprising to me. Then about 25% already had an existing relationship with the lender, the organization, not the individual originator. About 15% were referred by a family member or friend. That one I'm a little bit surprised is not a little higher. And then lastly, about 10% already had an existing relationship with the loan originator, not the lender, but the actual individual loan originator. So, and then there was some more answers like from builder, and then I think there were some that were online lead. But basically, about 80% of those home buyers found their way to their lender through a referral or an existing relationship. So I thought that was really interesting. It made me think about, is it worth chasing leads? Here I am on social media. I really do this more to educate than I do to try to drive business. But it is interesting. Is it worth chasing leads? Is it worth, trying to use online platforms or digital marketing to source customers? And I think then the second question to that, will these statistics change in the future as millennials and Gen Z make up a higher percentage of the buyer pool? So time will tell. I mean, I think if you work in the mortgage lending world, I think you need to be present in your local community, with your real estate community. But then I also think you need to be present through social media platforms and digital platforms. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. Number four, I'm going to dive back into the CFPB again. So if you're sick of these nerdy housing industry geek outs, then just skip right down to the quote of the week, which is worth listening to in my opinion. But if you do want to hear about the CFPB and the most recent updates. Here goes. So yesterday, President Trump's appointee for the director of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, the CFPB, Jonathan McKernan, he appeared before the Senate Banking Committee for his confirmation hearing. So a couple takeaways. My first takeaway, I watched some of it live and then watched some highlights later. So my first takeaway is that the senator's behavior during all of these confirmation hearings is at times embarrassing and insufferable. And it's not just this one, and this is not like, it's both sides of the aisle. They bully, they interrupt, they oftentimes ask questions that aren't very well informed or maybe are kind of stupid, like they don't actually understand the function of the person that they're interviewing. That happened a couple times yesterday with Pulte, where he's going to run the FHFA, and they were asking him about FHA loans, which is managed by HUD, so or governed by HUD or overseen by HUD. So I don't know, that makes it difficult to watch at times and also kind of entertaining. But more specifically to their questioning of McKernan, he was questioned repeatedly by Elizabeth Warren on his commitment to follow the law and the statutes that govern the CFPB that were put in place through Dodd-Frank. And he repeatedly responded in a very strong way to say, yes, that I'm going to follow the law, follow the statutes that are put in place. He also acknowledged, though, that the agency's overreached in the past and that he plans to right-size the CFPB and make sure they're focusing on the primary objectives that they should be focusing on. Concerns were also addressed about the future of the Bureau, and he did assure the senators that if appointed, he will not shut down the CFPB, and he will continue to work to streamline its operations, but perform the functions that the CFPB is there to do. Personally, from what I've seen, read, watched, heard, I think McKernan is very credible and a really qualified hire, and I'm optimistic that he'll do a great job in that role. Number 5, the quote of the week. This is one of my favorite quotes. It goes like this, and it's from Dan Allender. Find like-hearted kings living in the same direction. Sign treaties. When they're at war, you're at war. And I just love this quote because it speaks to friendship, it speaks to brotherhood, sisterhood. Find your tribe and battle life's challenges together, linked arm in arm. Thanks for watching, friends. Have a great weekend.